Just a quick one before I get into this video and we talk about Daniel Dubois and Joseph Parker. Look there on screen, flash sale, DAZN, 30% off, annual membership up front and monthly membership as well. This is coinciding with Frank Warren joining DAZN on April the 1st. People, it's a big deal. We've got some great fights coming up over the next few months. DAZN is well on its way. It already is the home of world boxing, but it is on its way to being the undisputed home of world boxing. Trust me on that. Link is in the description. Enjoy. Alright, so Daniel Dubois this week finally broke his silence on the whole situation that happened in Saudi Arabia for the last crescendo. As we all know, Daniel Dubois was going into that fight. He was meant to fight Joseph Parker, defending his world title, his IBF world title, in a voluntary defence. It's the crucial part, voluntary. And ultimately he ended up falling ill, which a lot of people have speculated, that he was ducking Joseph Parker, which again, I don't really necessarily see it as being that. And other people made speculations that it was something to do with a failed test, which to me just never made any sense to me, that one, especially considering the fact that when it came to people, theorizing failed tests, I know until you hear it from pretty much the horse's mouth and stuff like that, you can't really say anything. But at the end of the day, you had Frank Warren, you had Don Charles literally planning their next moves, saying, it's going to be Usyk in the summer, this, that and the other. It's sanctioned under the auspices of the British Boxing Board of Control. They are not just going to let that go. There's just no way around it. So I never bought that one. That one to me was just like, no, that doesn't make sense to me. That one just is, I'm putting that one to the side. I was kind of like, look, we'll have to wait and see. It could legitimately just be that he was ill. Floyd Schofield, he was taken ill as well. And he came out in the interview and basically said, he was advised by the doctor and his dad to pull out of the fight. Understand, he wasn't actually pulled from the fight. It wasn't like the board said, we're not sanctioning this fight. No, he was advised to pull out of the fight, and he heeded his dad and the doctor's instructions, and he pulled out of the fight. We kind of know all the gist of that, right? But since then, he's been giving interviews with people like Box Nation, Umar on there, and he's mentioned his next few fights. And crucially, when he's been asked, and this is really interesting, isn't it? When he's been asked, he's never said, he's mentioned Oleksandr Usyk, but he's even said Parker is the one he wants to fight. Because I think that fight was there, it was ready to go, and it obviously didn't happen. Dubois, look, I think he would have won that fight, because I thought that he looked, in the training footage we've seen even in Saudi Arabia, but even prior, I thought he looked really good. He looked really sharp. And I think for Daniel Dubois, this was something that he wanted to do. He wanted to, keep this run of form going. I think he really did see Joseph Parker as just someone who he's going to, push to one side. Not in a sense of, I'm overlooking you necessarily, but in a sense of, I am going to beat you, and you're not going to stop me from fighting Oleksandr Usyk. For me, it's almost like Daniel Dubois. Usyk is what he wanted, but obviously got into the mindset of, and I'm fighting Joseph Parker, let's focus on this. Alright, now you can fight Usyk. But I kind of want to fight Joseph Parker now. I want to show the people what I can do. So for me, when I look at Dubois in interviews now, it's like, okay, you're mentioning Parker a lot. I wouldn't recommend doing that. I wouldn't recommend you just going and just saying, right, I want to go and fight Joseph Parker, when it's likely, your promoter is even saying it, it's going to be Oleksandr Usyk next. It's going to be for undisputed. You're going to want to get Parker out of your head and focus on Oleksandr Usyk, because that is no easy task in the slice. He beat you already, stopped you in 9 one-sided rounds. So Daniel Dubois needs to focus on Oleksandr Usyk. But it is very interesting. Parker has become the... boogeyman is the wrong word. He's definitely not that. He's definitely not that. But the kind of man in the heavyweight division, so to speak. Because I think the fans, certainly since they've announced that they were ordering WBO, ordering Parker versus Usyk, the majority of fans I see in the comments, and I should really do a poll on the community tab, I don't do them enough, because from what I'm seeing, the majority of people actually want to see Joseph Parker get that crack at Oleksandr Usyk over Daniel Dubois. And now you've got Daniel Dubois coming out saying, well, actually, I'd quite rather fight Joseph Parker next. Not in a sense of, I don't want to fight Oleksandr Usyk because he's scary, he's dangerous. No, Dubois was calling for Oleksandr Usyk, after he beat Tyson Fury. So it's not like Dubois is running scared of Usyk. He's been calling for this fight. But it's almost like Parker now at this stage, everyone looks at him and is like, You know, I don't want to stop this run he's on. He's on a great run of form. Eddie Hearn, to me, seemed very hesitant when they mentioned Anthony Joshua, Joseph Parker. Oh, yeah, we beat him years ago. Yeah, you beat him years ago. A lot can change in that time, and a lot has changed. So, Daniel Dubois mentioning that Joseph Parker is his preferred option. That's an interesting one, isn't it? Is it the fact that Parker's been on such a good run that people see him as maybe, you know, looking into it a bit? Look, we can't really go and say the Martin Bacoli fight was a representation of what would have happened had Bacoli had been fit. It just wouldn't have been that. You know, I said it at the time. I was like, fully fit Bacoli, I'm picking him over Joe Parker. The man had probably 4 or 5 hours sleep. He was way out of shape. He hadn't trained at all, and they didn't even chart him a flight, for God's sake. I mean, he had to take connecting flights. He could have at least chartered him a flipping flight. Like, it's not like they are expensive, but it's not like the Saudis are strapped for cash. So he went in there with probably jet lag, fatigued, not just physically, mentally from the travelling. Because even travelling when I go home to Ireland, I go home at least once or twice a month. I even feel it's only a 20-minute train ride to the airport, 20 minutes on the DLR, and then an hour flight to Dublin. And then I still feel like that was long. I can only imagine what going from the Congo must have been like. But yeah, that's not a representation of Joseph Parker. But I think he is in great form. Andy Lee is doing great work with great fighters. You know, look at Paddy Donovan. He's going to beat the living crap out of Lewis Crooker again. And this time he's not going to get disqualified. So Joe Parker is on the run of his career. And I think that fighters like Dubois look at that and think, I want to end that run. I think I can end that run. And they're focusing on Parker. They really are. Focus on Oleksandr Usyk if that fight is announced next. That's what I will be saying to Daniel Dubois. But I guess the whole purpose of this video is I want to ask you guys in the chat. Daniel Dubois versus Joseph Parker. He's not obligated to give him the fight. It wasn't a mandatory. So he's not obligated to. But what would you rather? Would you rather undisputed Oleksandr Usyk Dubois be put on hold for Daniel Dubois to fulfill that obligation? And if it is, what does that mean for Oleksandr Usyk? Adjikabayel, please. That'd be interesting. That'd be very interesting. I'd like to see that. I would quite like to see that. But long and the short of it, I think we are going to get Oleksandr Usyk Dubois next. Dubois said that he's going to be fighting in July. Preferably, he said, in the UK. Wink, wink. We kind of all know who that's going to be. So, yeah, those are my thoughts on that. I just found it interesting. Daniel Dubois mentioned that he actually, on top of his list, is Joseph Parker. I just found that very interesting. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. I hope you enjoyed the video, people. Smash the like button if you could. Hit subscribe, as always, if you haven't already. 80-something subs off 23k. So we're getting there, people. We're getting there. 25k in no time. Peace.